So if you're trading the New York session, you trade New York Open 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, this is one of the best volume profiles to use and to reference going into the Open. So I'm going to show you an example from today and show you a particular trade setup you can use to trade the New York Open using volume profile. So what you want to do is, if we have a look at the session for today, so today's New York session is here, 7th of August, Thursday the 7th of August, and that's highlighted in the white area here. That's the regular trading hours session. What we want to reference for the overnight profile, of course, normally we use the previous day's value levels as well, but if you're trading the New York Open specifically, using the overnight profile can provide some very good setups. So for the overnight profile, when referring to the levels for the next trading day, the next regular trading hours day, you want to get your fixed range volume profile, and you want to start the profile from 6 p.m. Now, why do you start at 6 p.m. and not from 4 p.m.? That 4 p.m. profile is best used if you're trading the overnight session and you want to take into account that post 4 p.m. volume. But if you're building a strict Globex only volume profile, you want to start from 6 p.m., which skips the maintenance window in the futures market. So if we start from 6 p.m., you want to draw your overnight profiles from 6 p.m. all the way through right up to that 9:30 a.m. open. And what that's going to do is then give you your levels. So you have your value area high, your point of control, your value area low of the overnight session. And we refer to these levels. Of course, you don't want to trade from these levels alone, right? We're not going to wait for price to tap this level and then just trade the level with no other confluence. That's how you're going to get your ass beat. You need a little bit of extra confluence. So what you're going to do alongside the overnight profile is you're going to also use a developing profile for your trading session. So whatever trading session you're trading, you want to have a developing profile that follows you along in price. So if you're trading the New York session, the New York Open, you're going to start a developing profile, which is the same indicator. Start that developing profile from 9:30, and then you're going to have the button set here, click extend right while you're trading. So it's going to extend it across during your active session. As price develops, that volume profile will follow you and develop in real time. We'll use this in hindsight here for the moment. What you want to do in trading the New York Open is allow price to develop for at least half an hour. So 10 a.m. is when you can start to look for a trade setup. So if we pull that profile across from 9:30 through to 10 a.m. and allow that first half an hour of volume to be put in, now you can start to look for your trade. So what we can see here is something very telling that would have set up a perfect short opportunity. This is how you tell a story using multiple profiles. If you look at the developing profile, you can see the fair value price. The most popular price point for the overnight session was there at 614.25. That was what was considered fair value for the overnight session for those Globex hours. And what this developing profile tells us on the open of New York is we can see that value is actually shifting lower. So we can see that fair value for the New York session, half an hour into the open, is a little bit lower than fair value. And the value area high, again, what a value area high signifies is premium pricing. So if we have the overnight sessions profile showing fair value at 614, but then the current session's developing profile is showing that actually what was fair value overnight is now premium pricing, as in a high premium for the current session, that gives us two confluences that give us a clue that price is actually more likely to shift downwards for the current New York session. Right on that 30-minute mark after the 9:30 open, we have our trade set up good to go. Okay, so because we're in premium of the current session profile, which was fair value for the overnight profile, we can take that short position on the overnight fair value and right on the current session's value high. And using the sandbag theory, as we call it, set your stop loss behind, if you can see, this high volume node that developed here. We have a high volume node that's developed at the value area high before price pulled down. Set your stop loss somewhere behind that high volume node to give your stop loss more protection. Of course, when price runs into areas where there is higher volume or there was recently higher volume, price is more likely to slow down or reverse. Therefore, your safest stop losses are placed behind a high volume node. So if we set that at 5 points, and then your target for this trade I personally would only be targeting the value area low of the current session's developing profile. So I would be targeting down here at 6,400. It's also a nice round number, which are nice areas to get your limit orders filled. So that would be a nice almost 1 to 2 trade there with very minimal risk. You have max drawdown of 3 points to earn a total of 9.75 points. And of course, if you're feeling more risky and more ballsy, you can drag that stop loss in once price comes down to the value low and just trail that stop loss for even a bigger target down at the value area low of the overnight session for a potential 20-point score there on that one. So this is what we'd call a B-rated setup. Now, a B-rated setup when trading volume profile is something that has 2 or less confluences. Anything that's A-rated would be something that has 3 confluences. So ideally, you have your current session profile, a reinforced level with a high volume node, and maybe a previous day's value level. Having 3 or more confluences would make it an A-level trade or an A-rated trade. Anything with 2 or less would be a B. Now, B-rated trades obviously are still good to take. I would just use slightly less size on a B-rated trade, but that is a nice clean 2 confluence points using 2 profiles for a really clean setup there on the New York Open. So if you are trading that New York session and you're trading on the New York Open, as a lot of you guys do, again, I don't because I'm based in New Zealand and that time zone just doesn't work for me unless I want to be up at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, which I don't, so I trade the Asian session. But if you're going to trade the New York Open, make sure you have your overnight profile drawn. Again, that is from 6 p.m. Eastern Time through to 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then you just label those price levels. Once you've drawn that profile, you label those price levels from that overnight profile as overnight value high, overnight POC, and overnight value area low. And you refer to those on the chart, of course, in conjunction with other confluences such as your previous day's value levels and your current session developing profile. And remember, you don't want to be trading these levels with no other confluences. Make sure you have at least 2 confluences. A single confluence trade is a C-rated trade, and C-rated trades, you're going to find yourself losing more of those. So go for B-rated with 2 confluences or more, or A-rated with 3 confluences or more. Build context around the volume profile levels, and you're going to find yourself some really high probability trade setups. So if you found that helpful, like the video, and if you want more volume profile information, stay tuned to the channel, or you can also check out my volume profile course, which is linked in the description, which goes into this in detail and how to use the volume profile for many different setups and day-to-day conditions. And if you're on your prop firm journey, you can find the links to both Apex and Take Profit Trader, which are the only 2 prop firms I use. The best code CAMCAP, CAMCAP, can be found in the description as well. Have a safe rest of the trading week, and I'll see you guys again next week.